Good morning, YouTubers. This is Francisco. Today I'm going to show you what the garden, my community garden here in Long Island looks like. I am going into my second growing season here in this particular site. As you can see, the beds, I cover them with leaves from that fall from the trees at the end of the year last year. The ground did not freeze, and what you can see here is like a lot of the brassicas actually survived, which is pretty surprising because when I look around the garden, most of the brassicas died. But here, because of the insulation provided by the leaves, they actually survived. Caught. Good morning, YouTubers. Today we are here at the community garden. It's early April, and I'm going to share with you an update about what the garden looks like. What we are doing here in this particular site is a community garden. You can see the bed is roughly like 5 by 20. I started here last year on a different video. I document how I set it up, and this year we're going into the second year of the growing season, so stay tuned. I'm going to walk around, show you how things are growing. A lot of plants survive. What you see here, actually, brassicas were doing really well. They survive winter, they're ready to bloom, and there is food. So early in April, when everything is still kind of dormant, we can harvest, we can have a crop of green leaves from the garden. All of this because I insulated my soil with leaves so it didn't freeze. And because it didn't freeze, the plants actually had a chance to survive winter. And that is something that you can do in your garden to protect your garden beds, because essentially the leaves protect the soil from freezing, which means the soil biology stays active all winter, creating nutrients, releasing minerals for your garden to be ready for the next season. So stay tuned for that. Today I'm going to start planting some of the cold hardy plants, and I'll walk you through it. So one of the best things that you can do for your garden at the end of the growing season is to mulch your beds. Here you can see how I covered the entire bed with leaves. That was about a foot of leaves. The rains, the snow, they have compressed them down, which works really nicely. In this particular bed, I covered it with some branches and sticks and things to prevent them from blowing over. That has never been an issue, but because I'm sharing the space with neighbors and other folks here in the garden, I wanted to make sure that that was not going to be an issue if the leaves blew over. The good thing about mulching your garden beds is you actually increase the survival rate for winter hardy plants. Like this is kale lacinato. You can see that that is a beautiful brassica. Is edible, so I can go ahead and harvest a lot of those shoots and eat them. So as early as April, you are getting harvest from your garden. You're getting produce from your garden if you mulch it. So that's the benefit of it. The other benefit is that because the soil doesn't freeze under the plants, number one, they have a better chance of surviving, but number two, the soil biology stays active. It stays active all winter. In the background here we have some Egyptian walking onions. They're pretty much ready to eat. I can pluck those out and cook them. They're green onions. They're really delicious. They overwinter really well and come back even stronger the next year. One of the added benefits of mulching your beds at the end of the season is that you don't have to deal with weeds. Like weeds are already germinating. A lot of cold hardy weeds come up early in the spring before you're even able to plant anything. Like you can see, this bed is pretty much completely covered with leaves, so there's not a ton of weeds germinating. There is a couple that I can see, but those are easy to kind of pull out. But then if I look at the beds right next to mine, beds that were not mulched, they are completely covered with weeds. So those folks are gonna have to till those beds, figure it out how to get rid of all the weeds, because essentially they have a pretty good harvest already going, and this is the first week in April. So definitely mulching your garden beds, even if it's a community garden, pays off. Your soil is going to stay active all winter. You're going to be able to release minerals, generate more nutrients. Their composting worms are active because they're not frozen. They don't have to burrow down. They can stay up in the surface, where your crops are essentially going to be able to get all the nutrients right when you start planting. And then, like I showed you before, an added bonus is that a lot of your plants will actually overwinter and survive the freezing temperatures. So stay tuned for the next step.